are well. I would like to just say a warm welcome to the Young Minds information session. This is in connection with our 2024 program, and we're hoping to provide you with some useful information in assisting you with if you have to make any decision, in just assisting you to do that. My name is Kevin Henderson, and I will be presenting a big portion of this afternoon, and I will introduce the team very soon. Just before we get going for the afternoon, we encourage people to engage with us. It would really be useful if you can, from time to time, switch on your cameras. Thank you to my colleagues for having your cameras on, because it allows me just to have a little bit of a picture so I can see who I'm talking to. I'm one of those guys that needs a little bit of interaction. Otherwise, I lose myself. So thank you so much, Walter. And thank you, Mr. Lewis, for coming on camera. It really is going to help our this afternoon's conversation as much as we can. Usually when we are in a physical space, we would have asked people just to orientate yourself towards the room. And I think maybe for you to orientate yourself in terms of where's the bathroom. I know it's late in the day, so there might be a lot of traffic down the passage. People are coming from work, and you don't want a traffic jam there. So help yourself so that you know. I know the kids are around. They're done with school exams, I think, getting ready for the holidays. So there might be a lot of activity. Please, whatever happens, it happens. And so spend the rest of the next hour with us, invested with us, as we will provide you with some useful information. Just to give you a bit of an agenda for the afternoon, we, I've just done a bit of an introduction and a bit of a welcome, and I'll introduce our team just now. And then I will speak to you just to provide you with an overview of the program. And then after that, I will hand over to Claire, who will speak to you around the calendar for next year, and also just relate some practicalities that might be important for you to have. And then after that, we'll give an opportunity for Claire will share some frequently asked questions and some solutions to those. And after that, for the last 10 minutes or so, we'll have an opportunity for you to ask questions that you might have, and hopefully we'll be able to answer those for you. In the meantime, while we are online, you are free to have, if you have any question, just to post it into the chat. If you post it for everyone to see, the rest of our team will be able to respond to that. If not, in the Q&A session at the end, they will raise it again so that someone could answer that question. So keep your eyes on the chat in the meantime. And then if you have something burning that you want to ask, you can just sort of raise your hand, and we will be answering, give you an opportunity and answer the question as it comes up as well. So thank you for being here. And so let me introduce you to our team. If you look at the slide that you see in front of you, you'll see on the far left, you have a very important person. And the way I see it on the screen also, she's sitting next to me, on a video is next to me, but I hope you can also see it like that. And her name is Miss Samantha Abrahams. She is the program manager and has responsibility for the admin around the Young Minds program. Then next to, on the slide, next to Samantha, you have Miss Charmaine Mitchell, who is our client relations person. She, up till now, probably have interacted with you a little bit if you've had any questions regarding the program. So Charmaine will be the person at the end. We will bring up a contact detail for you to contact should you have any further questions after today. And then on my far right, you have Miss Amira Lewis, who is our program administrator. And Amira is the person that will correspond with you with regards to registration fees, application and fees, etc. And so that is Miss Amira Lewis. And then next to Amira, it's myself. My name is Kevin. I am the proposal and design specialist. And this is part of our open enrollment team. And so last, ladies and gentlemen, certainly not least, is the lovely Miss Claire Sissing, who is our channel director. Claire keeps this team sane. She keeps us together, but she does more than just that. You can imagine after a long year like this year, we're at the end of our tether, and Claire's here today just to keep us honest and just to ensure that she keeps us sane as we get through this afternoon session as well. So very welcome. And that is the team that will be with you for the rest of the afternoon. So, ladies and gentlemen, so what is Young Minds, and more importantly, who is Stellenbosch Business School Executive Development? So as you may know, that Stellenbosch University do have many different schools. So we're part of the university as such, but at the different schools, you, for example, will know that we have a medical school, which is fairly well known, but we also have a military school, and then we have the business school, which is actually situated in a town in the Western Cape called Bellville. However, the main campus is in Stellenbosch, but the rest of our other campuses or the other schools are a little bit scattered off campus. Now, in the business school, we have two divisions, which is the Stellenbosch Business School with the responsibility of offering degree programs, and in particular postgraduate degrees and postgraduate diplomas. And then within the business school, we have the other leg, which is the leg responsible for leadership programs, short courses, certificate courses, which is Stellenbosch Business School Executive Development. So the Young Minds program sits within our division, which is the Executive Development Division of Stellenbosch Business School. More importantly, I think for people who need to make a decision about where to send their young people to, it's important to note that our programs are quality assured by the business school, and our successful participants will get a certificate or are certified by Stellenbosch University as such. So that's important just in terms of context. And so with regards to the Young Minds program, the Young Minds program then is a sort of a career-focused gap year program, which we run from the 12th of March next year until the 8th of November 2024. So the focus is on a career-focused program, most probably aimed at those young people who are a little bit unsure about what to do with their lives and need a bit of guidance in that respect. So those are the people that would be suitable for our program. So therefore, we call it a structured personal development program for young adults or school leavers who are not sure what they want to do with their lives yet. And that's the emphasis. Doesn't mean that these kids or young people don't know what to do, but for now, they're unsure. For now, they're unclear. And hopefully, if we can assist them and support them in a way so that they can arrive at that point closer to the end of next year as well. I am working as in my role at the business school, but I'm also working as a psychologist. And one of the things that I have a pet peeve about is the fact that we in our country expect of young 18-year-olds to know exactly what they want to do with their lives for the rest of their lives. For those of us who are in my age category, you will know when we were young, it was quite easy. You basically had to figure out, am I going to become a teacher? Will I become a doctor? Will I become a lawyer, or will I become an engineer? And that was it. You know, it was very simplistic. These days, the options are just too vast for our young people. And I think to that extent, we're hoping that we can help those kind of choices a little bit easier for them. Not professing that we can solve their uncertainties, but we're hoping to really make it a bit easier for them and provide them with some form of guidance so that they can progress in their lives as well. People tell me very often that we, in the past, when I was young, we had people would have maybe 3 different jobs in one career. Now people are talking about in our lifetime and in the young people's lifetime, they will at least have 5 different careers. To forget about the number of jobs that they want. And it's with that in mind that we are looking at the Young Minds program as such. We're very happy to say that for 2024, we're going to have the entire program to run on our main campus in Stellenbosch. Some of you might have heard that during 2020, because the program was running in Stellenbosch all these years, and in 2020 with COVID, we had to pivot quickly and we had to turn things around to the extent that last year and the year before last, the program has been run totally remotely. This year, we've had the first 6 months of the year, which was offered in person on campus in Stellenbosch. And then we had the second semester that was remotely offered. For 2024, we are happy to say that this beautiful picture that you're saying will be the scenery that young people will be able, or Young Minds program will be able to see, as they will have all their classes offered on campus from the 12th of March until the 8th of November 2024. The program as such includes some of these value-added things. I think more importantly, I think it's important to note that this is not, and forgive me if I use a word that might sound disrespectful, but this is not a Palooka Institute. So the program that we offered, that's why we are proud to say our certificate is, our program is certified by Stellenbosch University. It focuses on enabling holistic self-discovery with the emphasis on self. And self-discovery doesn't mean they have to do everything on their own. It means they have to discover, but with the guidance of what we offer from faculty and from our learning process facilitators as well. We're very proud to say that we will be in our 14th year of presentation in 2024. And to date, we've had approximately 1,200, 1,250 alumni who has completed the program. Stellenbosch University Career Services tend to recommend our program to the young people who have difficulty making a decision. Many young people come at the beginning of the year being uncertain or can't qualify for the program they really wanted to do. And so Stellenbosch University have their career services have no qualm in recommending our program as such. Then also to note that this is structured with the focus on personal development. Our approach is developmental, and so therefore in the design of the program, there will be different iterations of different developmental concepts that they will be going through. And then the program provides flexibility and a sense of real world exposure. And with that, what we mean by that is we've structured the program in such a way that the participants will have class for 3 days of the week, which allow them in those other days to explore other opportunities, to explore other ways of exposing themselves to the real world of work as well. And then we do a psychometric assessment, which will help these young people to align their talents and their interests and their opportunities. So the free time that's offered through the 3-day class arrangement is in such a way that they will be able to have time for meaningful activities. However, it's important to note that we expect of our participants to have ownership and accountability for themselves, yet we will provide and support them with guidance, and we will also provide them with the safety net, provided that they are engaging with us as well. A lot of that depends on the learning contract that they will be entering into at the beginning of the start of the academic year, which their learning process facilitators will be able to assist them with. So what is the aim of the program? The aim of the program is to help young people with personal development, and we do that by providing them with a structured program. They will then get to know themselves better through exploration of the real world of work, but at the same time matching their talents with the opportunities that may exist in the world out there. We know that we don't want to encourage every one of our participants to become an entrepreneur. That's not the aim of the program. However, we do understand in the economy of our country and in the trends that we see in the world, more and more it's required of people, of especially young people, to become more innovative in coming up with opportunity and creating their own opportunities as such. So what we're hoping then to achieve through this structured program, help young people to create their own direction, their own sense of meaning and opportunities in life. We have to then also say, in this entire program, they will leave with a Stellenbosch University certificate, but this is not a formal degree program. So this is not a formal qualification. So this doesn't mean that a young person completing our program will leave with a degree or with a qualification that is recognized as a formal qualification. Then the program itself is then focused on 3 key themes, and those themes are as follows. We focus on entrepreneurial thinking, we focus on business management, and we focus on personal mastery. We use what we like to call a dual pathway of teaching, which means that we will have theory and practice at the same time. So the participants will receive some theoretical input, but at the same time, they will also receive opportunity to practice. And to that extent, we ensure that we have a learning process facilitator that will help them with that practical application of the theoretical learnings that they've had already. What we're hoping to achieve through these 3 developmental areas, like I've mentioned, personal mastery, business acumen, and entrepreneurship, is that personal mastery will give them the art of creating a life of fulfillment. Business acumen will give them the art of creating value and profit. And then in entrepreneurship or entrepreneurial thinking, they will develop or become familiar with the art of creating opportunities. And through that, we are hoping that the young person will become empowered, which means a person with personal vision. They've increased their internal locus. They have become more self-confident. They've developed an entrepreneurial mindset. They have some business acumen, and they know how to lead a balanced lifestyle, or in a better way of putting that, they would know how to lead an integrated lifestyle, integrated in terms of their work life as well as their personal life. So the learning experience to that matter is an integrated learning experience. And what that means, on any given week, we will do something on personal mastery, something on business acumen, as well as something on entrepreneurship. And then, like I've mentioned earlier on, that they will also have the opportunity to practice the theory that they have learned during that particular study week or block as well. We pride ourselves that we bring experienced faculty members who will help them to sort of get to grips with the content as well. And like I've mentioned earlier on, this dual pathway and the approach is that therefore it's classroom driven from a framework point of view, but the application happens through self-organized projects as well. And to that extent, the self-organized projects will be supported by the learning process facilitators who are with us this afternoon, as well as the life coaching, which will focus on their personal development as such. And so each participant would have to go through at least 5 sessions of personal life coaching, whilst the learning process facilitators will support them on a daily basis during their class periods as well. Just in terms of the content that we will run through the different themes for personal mastery, they usually start out the year dealing with thinking and paradigms. They focus on neuro-leadership, emotional intelligence. They get some input on how to prepare presentations, how to communicate effectively. We do some career management for them, self-leadership, and they, at the end, need to develop a life plan, which will run throughout the entire year. In terms of entrepreneurial mindset, they will look at the entrepreneurial process. They will look at innovation. They will learn how to do a strategic analysis. We'll do some business simulations, business idea generation, as well as at the end of the program, in their syndicate teams, they will have to develop a business plan as well. And then from the business acumen point of view, they learn about the modern economy. They'll get some input on marketing, on how to run a business operation. They look at human resources, as well as financial acumen and finances to run a successful business as such. So what is it that our young people can expect? So the idea, and this little slide that is coming up for you, is the commonly known as the Johari window, which simply says, we would like the young person to make that space, that first quadrant on the top left that says the public side. We would like them to increase that, because we all have these blind sides. We all have the hidden potential where we don't know and other people don't know that about ourselves. But we also have the private side. And so what we would like to help young people is to increase that public side by getting feedback from their peers, getting feedback from faculty, but also by discovering things about themselves which they haven't as yet discovered. As part of the process, they will be able to complete a career planning canvas, because we also invest at least 2 lectures to career planning, and they will be able to complete this canvas in terms of the options that are available to them. And so this is one of the reasons we're hoping by the end of the year, they would have a far better idea of where they would like to be. Now, I've mentioned those modules that was offered earlier on. And if you look at the next slide that comes up, those modules all work together throughout the year, and it culminates in a young person reaching the certification stage where they receive their certification at the end. But in order to complete to be successful, all of these modules culminate into a life plan. And to that extent, we have 5 different iterations of the life plan throughout the year, and it culminates in a business plan. Important about this, the life plan is an individual exercise. So there's a strong focus on the person's own capacity and ability and competence. But the business plan is a group exercise, because as we know, as some of our other leaders have already said, we all can achieve greatness by standing on the shoulders of other people who journey with us. And to that extent, we want young people to learn that they can achieve greatness also by just helping each other, supporting each other. In other words, by collaborating with one another as well. And through that, if they are successful with a couple of other requirements, which I will talk about just now, they will then at the end be certified with a certificate from Stellenbosch University. So what is required? What is it that they need to be able to do in order to get that certificate at the end? First of all, there's a number of, or there's at least an assessment, 2 assessments. The one is the Clifton Strengths Assessment, psychometric assessment, which they will complete at the beginning of the year. That assessment becomes the basis for the coaching sessions. And you can see the life coaching at the end. So they have to complete that. In addition to that, in the mid-year, they will complete an exam. So they will write 2 exam papers in the middle of the year. And in addition to that, they will also complete a number of individual assignments as well. Then they have to do some of the job shadowing, but these assignments, that psychometric assessment, and the outcome of the life coaching, all of that feeds into the life plan. All of that feeds into the business plan. And if they are successful in all of these activities, they then certify at the end of the year with a certificate of competence from Stellenbosch University. So in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, the Young Minds program, therefore, supports the young people by providing them with an LPF or LPFs, which stands for Learning Process Facilitators, as well as supporting them with a coach, a designated coach. And like I've mentioned earlier on, each participant needs to complete at least 5 coaching sessions. Then, in addition to that, they have to go and do some 20 notional hours of work at an NGO or an NPO, or also maybe a small to medium-sized business that they can also go and strategically analyze that organization as well. They have to pass all their assignments with a minimum of 50%. And obviously, attendance is compulsory because it is part of the notional hours that has been designed in. Ladies and gentlemen, you can imagine they only have class for 3 days a week, which simply means there's more than enough time for all of them to actually do some other activities as well, which could become meaningful. So in terms of the applications and admissions, they need to have 55% for their prelim or their mid-year grade 12 results. There's no specific requirement of any grade 12 subjects that's required. The applications are currently open, but the applications will close on the 21st of February 2024. So ladies and gentlemen, I trust that this information that I've tried to present and disseminate is helping you to think about the program and what it is that you could do. Just in terms of the question around the NQF, it is aligned to NQF 6. So that is what the program is aligned to. I've seen some questions, but before we go to those questions, I think this might be a good time for me to hand over to someone else to speak, because you could get so bored of listening to this. So I've decided it's a good time for you to listen to Claire. Thank you, Claire.
Thank you so much, Kevin. And I'm going back to that. You said I'm keeping you all sane. I think the team is keeping me sane at this moment. So good afternoon to each and every single one of you, and thank you for taking the time to be here this afternoon. I've been asked just to quickly go through the proposed schedule for 2024, and obviously some of this might still change, but to our knowledge, these dates are very much secured. So we'll kick off the year with a parent orientation session. That'll be on the 6th of March at 4:30, and that would be remote via Zoom, exactly what we're doing now. And that's where we basically orientate the parents on what is expected during the year. We then kick off our first semester. So it's basically two semesters next year. The first semester will then kick off from the 12th of March up to the 20th, from the 12th of March and then end on the 5th of June. Where they'll then take a break to do their exam week, which is from the 18th to the 21st of June. And as indicated, all of this would be on our main campus in Stellenbosch. We'll then have our first recess, or our second recess, which will be from the 29th of June to the 21st of July. And then we'll kick off our next learning period, which will be from the 22nd of July to the 4th of September. We'll then have another short recess from the 7th to the 15th of September, and then move into the learning period 4, which will be from the 16th of September to the 4th of October. And then we'll end off on our final period, which will be from the 11th of October to the 8th of November. And then later that in December, that will then be the graduation ceremony. We can move on, please. Okay, great. So there's quite a few frequently asked questions that we do get. So I thought let me quickly just go through them. So as indicated earlier, Kevin did mention that there is no specific grade subjects required in order to qualify to attend the Young Minds program. There is, however, a minimum average of 55 for their mid-year and final grade 12 results to qualify. Attendance of all activities and classes is compulsory. I think that's very important to note. And then, as mentioned a few times, that it will take place in Stellenbosch on our campus. So as also indicated by Kevin, there's no credit exemption towards any Stellenbosch University degree should you do the Young Minds program. So our fees for 2024 is 58,100, and this is excluding VAT. We also have a Capitec opportunity available to our parents, and this information will be put in the chat as well as sent to you after this presentation today. So what things are not included in the Young Minds program? I thought we should just mention it. So any travel, any private accommodation, your laptop device and necessary software needed to complete the program. Would need some Wi-Fi and data, and we just looked at about 300 remote learning hours. So that's more or less how much data you can look at needing to complete this program. Right. I'll then hand over back to Kevin as he wraps up the afternoon. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you so much, Claire. I'm a little bit disappointed that you went through that so quickly, but all good. Ladies and gentlemen, we've reached that stage of the afternoon where we would like to give you an opportunity to ask any questions. There's a couple of questions that I've already I've seen it in the chat. But just before we get to that, just to highlight this slide that you see at the moment, remember I've introduced it to Charmaine Mitchell earlier on. That's Charmaine's contact detail. So if you need any further questions after today's session, please, you can feel free just to send it on to Charmaine, and she would be very happy to support you or to respond to you with your questions as well. Let me just quickly go and see. There were one or two questions that I can already ask. There was a question about just will this program be run 100% in Stellenbosch? I need to just quickly say yes. All the classes will be in person in Stellenbosch. There's only one little part which the students will be able to do from their bedrooms, will be part of the life plan presentation. And the reason for that is just very simple. The life plan presentation, they come as an individual, and we felt it would be very struggling for people with cost if a kid must drive through just to campus to come and speak to the learning process facilitator for a half an hour. And to that extent, what we're doing is that only those individual sessions, they will have a one-on-one meeting with their learning process facilitator. But that's the only part of the program that will be remotely. All classes from the start until the final presentations at the end of the year will be happening in person. Okay, I hope that helps. Thank you, Fran. Clifton Strengths is amazing. Yes, look, we've had, Fran, just to answer your question around students who have completed other undergrad courses. We tend to get some young people who get stuck maybe in their final year. They have one module or one subject that they need to complete for their degree, and they don't want to waste the time. They would sometimes come and enroll for our program. It is helpful. One of the only challenges that I would think, a person who's been third year at university already, in comparison with a person who's never been to university, who's just come fresh from high school, there's sometimes a little bit of a disconnect. So if that person can manage that frustration, because they can get frustrated with these other youngsters who are still learning to find themselves, if that person is willing to go through all of that learning as well, then of course, yeah, we do have an age cutoff because we don't want people who are too old for the program to come. With the focus on youth, and in the real sense of the name youth, we do have an age cutoff. But Amira, I think you will be able to just quickly tell us what's the age cutoff again.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, sorry. So the age cutoff is 23.
There you go. Thank you, Amira. Okay, so Fran, I hope that answers your question as well. I'm just scrolling. If you have a question and you want to ask it quickly, you can just come onto your mic, and because I'm trying to see on my screen where the questions are. So forgive me if I'm not quick enough.
Kevin,
Yes.
hi, it's Francois. I see someone did ask on screen. It's from Monday to Wednesday. More or less, what are the time slots that the kids need to be at the university then?
So a lot of that will depend on the number of students that we attract. But the classes usually runs from 8:15 till lunchtime, 12:30, 1 o'clock. If we need to have two groups, we might need to use the afternoon session. So one group in the morning and another group in the afternoon. But for the last 2 years, we've been running it in such a way that we could do the classes only in the morning. So it will be a half a day that they will attend class. Walter, yeah, at commencement, yeah.
Just a question earlier on. Sorry, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Just a question earlier on was the success rate of the alumni starting businesses during, post the program, and or success of employment, and whether you're tracking that at all as part of your scorecard outcomes.
Okay, we haven't been tracking in a formal way because it's quite difficult to look at how many are successful at starting businesses. But what we do have this, and this is now not empirical, but the success rate of people finding their way in terms of coming back to us and saying us, this is where I've been, this is what I've done now, and thank you to Young Minds. About 80% of our participants come back with that kind of feedback. There are admittedly still some people at the end of it saying to us, I'm a little bit more confused than where I was at. But yeah, about 80% come back and say yes.
You mind if I just jump in here? I don't know if you can hear. This is Fran speaking.
Yes, Fran, I can hear you.
Great. I wanted to ask something similar, which was, I guess, where do these young people typically end up? I'm from the graduate recruitment world, and I just sort of wonder, so they're coming out with an NQ6 and they're about, what, 19, 20? How many of them tend to, do they get targeted by graduate employers? I mean, are graduate employers able to consider them because they don't yet have a full formal qualification, but maybe some of them go into coding academies? I'm very curious about how many of them end up being targeted by your formal graduate employers, and if you know that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, they don't get formally sort of targeted, and the reason is obviously it's not a graduate program, so most of the people don't, and that's why we emphasize that. However, the value for the participant is when they do their job shadowing, which we encourage. Some of that is formally structured in terms of you have to submit your report, but we want them to get exposure to as many different opportunities out there. That's where they're building. For the new year, I have one of my learning process facilitators here. So for the new year, we are bringing in one other activity focused especially on looking at how to engage with different stakeholders, because we've noticed that there has been a gap in the program to help young people to look at how do we approach people out there. So we expect of them to do that, but we figured that they don't always have the skills and the know-how how to do that. So that is something that we are becoming a little bit more mindful about and hoping to make a difference in that way. We've also initially, I saw your hand, Faf. Initially, the program was called into life from an entrepreneurial perspective. But we've very soon discovered not everyone who comes into the program wants to become an entrepreneur. Hence, we've shifted a bit of the focus also to career planning and looking at what to go and study if you're still interested in studying and those kind of things. So I'll give Faf, I say it right, Faf, and then Alison after that.
That's right. Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, just a quick comment. So many of my friends' kids have done this program in the past, and I've only heard very good things. And I think you've summarized quite well. It's really just a direction pointer, and many of the kids actually figure out what they want to do with their life. So from that point of view, they get interaction with other kids on the university, and I've had very good feedback. My question is on the 20 hours of non-profit organizations that they need to go to. Can you maybe just give me some more info on what they need to do, and do you facilitate that, or do they approach their own NPOs, and what do they need to do?
So yeah, that's one of our challenges for next year, is because Stellenbosch is quite small, and there are only so many NPOs over there. So we don't send them to an NPO. We facilitate it in the process of they can approach us for ideas. We will provide them with letters to go and all of those kind of things. And so to that extent, you would have mentioned earlier on, heard me mentioning that up till now we've used it as an NPO. However, what we are now saying, we're going to expand it slightly to also include SMMEs. And the reason for that is because part of that stint that I do there, they have to complete a strategic analysis by doing an Osterwalder business canvas. And so they can do that not only in the NPO. Our purpose for the NPO was because we want them also to be exposed to social entrepreneurship, and not only like entrepreneurship from a for-profit. But we're expanding that for the new year to allow them to sort of have more options to do that, but they can do the activity that they need to submit in both NPO or in SMME. But from our side, there's guidance. If they come to us, we'll help them, but the responsibility is on them to find that. Okay.
Thanks.
Alison?
Yes, hello. Do you assist the students with their real world of work, or do they need to, or work shadowing, or do they need to source that themselves? So it sort of leads into the same NGO question.
Yeah, and it's the same response to that. Our support has been in that way. One of the things that we're trying, and so I can't promise that, but one of the things that the team and I have been working on was to also look at, remember, we work with other corporates as well. So we are busy with a project to try and find how many of our corporate clients would be prepared to, for example, make space available. So that's our commitment to try and help them in that process. But you can imagine it becomes a difficult thing to try and place every student if you're there. So we're hoping that we can at least steer them more deliberately than rather just saying go out and try and find that. So there's a number of corporates that we've started to target and be thinking of, and we have good relationships with them. So we're hoping that will work.
Great, thank you.
Good. Karen, the majority of our students, so I remember I said earlier on about 80% get to figure out what they want to do. The majority of that 80%, they go on to study, but not necessarily at university or at Stellenbosch University. The majority of them, they go and they become almost more comfortable, I want to use the word, and more confident to tell their parents, this is what I want to do. So there are still parents who would say, you can't go study fashion design, because what you're going to do with that? And so we find that a lot of our young people, after the Young Minds program, they just become more confident because they are more clearer about what their passion is and how they can make their passion work for them. So the majority of them do go on to go and study. I used to lecture at a college in Cape Town called SACAP, South African College of Applied Psychology. And before this, I used to be one of the faculty members on Young Minds. And I was quite surprised one day when I was lecturing at SACAP, and a young man walked up to me, because I couldn't remember him, and he said to me, oh, I used to be on the Young Minds, and out of the Young Minds, I decided I want to come and study psychology. And he ended up there. But that's the kind of thing that would often happen with our young people. They just get a little bit clearer sort of sense of clarity about what they want to do. Okay. Michael, you are excused.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yes, you may.
I just wanted to get an idea of the total intake size and if applications are oversubscribed, on what basis you make a selection from the candidates who apply. Thanks.
So
I think I can. Oh,
okay, now you can
for
go.
it,
You can go, Claire. No, you can
Oh,
speak, Claire.
Okay, great. Yes, okay. I must be honest, this year we've actually launched in October and we have almost 160 applications for this program. So we obviously can only take X amount. We're probably looking at about 120 to 140 for next year. So the cutoff date is in February, but should we reach that number, we would then obviously have to close applications.
And then
Did I
just in
answer that
terms,
correctly?
yeah, no, you did. But just in addition to what Claire is saying, the part of the question was also around what criteria do we use to admit participants. So at the moment, we get participants who apply with a mark lower than 55. So the requirement is they must have a 55% for that. So if the student has 55 and above, they will get preference to be onto the program.
And
Thank
then
you
is
very
it just a first,
And it also would
sorry,
work on a
First come,
first
first
come,
serve,
first serve basis.
first served
Yeah.
basis? Okay.
Yes, that's correct. Yes. Yes.
Sorry, just a further question on that. Do you have any idea what proportion of the students are staying in Stellenbosch versus commuting from maybe Cape Town and surrounds?
Well, each year it actually differs. It actually depends. Some years that quite a bit would stay in Stellenbosch and less would commute. So we actually don't know because they do arrange their own accommodation in Stellenbosch.
But what I can say, we usually get quite a big cohort coming from Gauteng, KZN, Eastern Cape. And so all of those students, they stay in Stellenbosch. Very often, most of our Cape Town-based students would commute, most of them. Because I think it becomes a bit pricey for the parents when there's a lot of this accommodation and all of those things. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Then I think there was Ms. Lewis, you're asking about punishments. And I know you've put it into inverted commas. It is a very difficult thing for us to manage because we do not want to feel that we need to police young people, but we also cannot just hand out certificates because the credibility of our program is important. So there are requirements, and so we will tell students that you have to attend. It's compulsory because these are your notional hours. However, when a student, so one of the things where we excuse students is that some students want to do the Young Minds program because they're looking at an opportunity to improve their matric results. And so when they're writing those matric results, we do give them permission or permit them to be absent. However, they have to make up that notional time. And so sometimes it's easy because it's an arrangement with a faculty member, or other times it's not that easy and they actually have to make up the time through self-study. And the only way we can then see that you've done the self-study work is by giving you an extra assignment so that we can get to the notional hours. So there's no punishment as such, but it is possible that the person can't graduate at the end of the year if they haven't met all their notional hours. But if they communicate with us, that makes it so much easier because then we can be proactive in arranging, the makeup time, etc., etc. Good. I just want to see morning and okay, so I've answered that. All right, so Holly, your question around should there be morning and afternoon classes, whether they get a choice. So we will then just divide them into two cohorts or two groups, and the one group will be in the morning and the other group will be in the afternoon. It's just a difficulty to give everyone a choice because then we might end up with all 120 saying we want a morning class or all 120 saying we want an afternoon class. So we'll just manage that ourselves. Yeah. Tracy, your question, can I comment on the success for those who have already done a third or a fourth year, they are usually our more successful students in that most of them end up going into the entrepreneurship route. I'm trying to think, Claire, of this, the guy that won the Discovery Award for entrepreneurship, who started that medical business. I can't really get to his name now. But he was also a young person who's done a BSc degree, was in third year, ended up leaving and never went back to go and finish his degree, but ended up starting a couple of new businesses. So yeah, so they tend to be more successful because I think also just because they have a bit of life experience, they tend to be very successful. I see Kani, your hand is raised.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. Just a quick question on accommodation. To confirm that you said for 2024 it will be in campus, and if you could maybe give us like what rates will look like for accommodation, because so far we had rates for the program. Thank you.
All right, we so accommodation is usually for own account, for lack of a better way of putting it. So we don't arrange the accommodation. We recommend or we refer you to Stellenbosch University. Samantha Abrams, can you just quickly come in and what is it called again, where most of our students stay?
Academia.
Sorry.
Academia. Thank you,
Academia.
JP.
Yeah.
Academia.
The information is in the chat. Chanel put it in the chat for Nielsen property officers and private student organization that they can approach for private accommodation in Stellenbosch.
And so to that extent, so our students, they don't form part and parcel of, so they studying at Stellenbosch University at this particular program, but it's not a degree program. It's not a formal qualification, and so therefore they are not allowed to represent Stellenbosch University on official sporting. But what we do is they become part of the private students organization. And so from that perspective, they will be part of the COSAIS. What's the COSAIS in English now? The hostel system, the residential system at Stellenbosch University. Okay. Alison?
Sorry, I was struggling to unmute there. We would be interested in 2025. Is it worthwhile applying now for 2025, or should I wait for a bit? Or
I would suggest you should wait for a bit.
So Alison, yeah, if I can just come in here, Kevin. Alison, what happens is we have to register next year again in order for you to apply. So we obviously go live in October next year for 2025 then. But they're more than welcome to be in contact with Shemaine and put your name maybe on a list that she can keep aside. That's no problem. We can release the information as soon as it becomes available to you.
Okay, that's great. I think Charmaine already has me on her list.
Yeah, she's brilliant.
For 2025, yeah.
Awesome, well
great.
done.
Thank you so much.
You're most welcome.
Okay, then Colia, yes, that clarification is correct. They won't be able to represent Marties. So they'll be able to be part of the COSAIS sporting codes, but not official Marty teams. Yeah. Good.
Given this is a crucial question on starting time.
Connie, they do have access to campus facilities, library, the gym. They do have access to all of those facilities. Yeah.
Kevin, can I just also respond these two facilities? When they do, when they're on campus, they can get student card at the administration building, and all this will be at orientation, so that they can obviously enter into the library that they would like to make use of.
Yeah, thank you. And then, excuse me, Mark-Andre, you said something about, is the question about starting time in the mornings?
Yes, there's a question in the chat box on that, whether it's possible to change the starting times for those commuting.
I'm sure it is always possible, but it has not been something that we have considered, because if we run two groups, the second group, because we will use the same venue, then the second group will have to run too late. So we probably would be able to change it maybe to 8:30 instead of 8:15, but not to 9 o'clock or anything like that. And it's not, like I said, it will depend on if we have one group, then it's possible to change it. But if we don't, and we have two groups, then it becomes a little bit more difficult to make the starting time slightly later. Okay, good, ladies and gentlemen. I think we've reached that point of the afternoon where we would like to say thank you for your time. Thank you for being such an attentive audience. And we want to just encourage you, don't forget, if you have anything after the session and you still feel, oh, I wanted to ask this though, please contact Charmaine on the contact detail as indicated. And we're certainly hoping that we will be able to welcome your young person in 2024 during our orientation session as well. If we don't see each other, we won't speak to each other. We want to wish you, for those of you who celebrate Christmas, we want to wish you a blessed Christmas. For those of you who are taking leave during the end of the year, we want to wish you a peaceful and a wonderful rest time off from work. And for those of you who will be traveling on holiday, please stay safe and be safe. And then lastly, those of you who are part of families, please enjoy your family. We always only have them for a short while in our lives. And so make it count when you have the time with them over the festive period. Take care of yourselves, and we're looking forward to seeing you next year. Thank you.